Ganju, let's start with you.
Okie doke. So, Boker Tov again to everyone. It is going to be the first 10 to 15 minutes is going to be with me and Banu. And again, as Dana said, I truly wished that I was here with you today, somewhere in Israel, together with Banu and Amichai and all of you. That would be great. But let's again let's start with a small introduction. Banu, because ladies first, I'll ask you to introduce yourself briefly, but in a LinkedIn fashion also, can you share with the group one silver lining? Because we talk about all the time about the bad things that happen with COVID-19, but one silver lining that COVID brought into your life.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I'm missing the food I had in Israel, in Tel Aviv, big time. I wish to be there, especially when you live in Dublin. You do wish, be in Tel Aviv a lot of times. My name is Banu Baykal. I am heading the LinkedIn Learning Solutions for Growth Markets, which is Sub-Saharan Africa, CE countries, Turkey, Israel, and Malta, Greece, and Cyprus. And you're right, Genjo. I mean, we, it's easy to talk about all the bad things around COVID. Interesting question. Actually, you know what? I started to manage people as a whole person rather than just a person who is in a workplace, because I connect every day with them and I see them at home, with their children, with their difficulties, with their environment. It's what is more private than inviting somebody to your living room all of a sudden with a conference call, right? Then you understand their true realities. And I started to manage them as a whole person. And that brought me a higher employee satisfaction, a greater engagement. So that's my silver lining. What is yours?
No, brilliant. So for the ones I looked at the participant list. I'm happy to say I know a lot of names. I'm familiar with a lot of you. So thanks for attending. But for the ones who doesn't know me, it's always a good trick that works in Israel. Genjo is a tricky name, right? So easier to remember. Genjo like a banjo. So always works. Now, whenever I'm in Israel, whenever I'm booking for a restaurant, I'm using this line, Genjo like a banjo, because other than that, I can be called a lot of different names. But great, I'll talk about more about the silver linings, but why not I show you one? Because we all learn something during COVID times, right? But LinkedIn invested in something outside of the box for the well-being of their employees. And what mine is this, my ukulele. So LinkedIn sends these ukuleles to the employees who are interested in learning something new during lockdown. Because you might know that for the past 6 weeks in Ireland, we were in a lockdown, which actually ended yesterday. But during these 6 weeks, we got an instructor, and we also have a mindfulness speaker that taught us mindfulness while we're learning about ukulele. So if we have time at the end, I'll show you my skills as well. But happy to say that this lockdown actually led me to learn something new, so which is a great silver lining.
Great.
With that, I will share my screen now, and I want to share some insights that we gathered as LinkedIn that might be useful for our community, right? So I call this remote control, and it's the Israeli pulse. So it will be, so let me just turn this down. It will be the understatement of the year if I say it's been a year, right? So it's been difficult for all of us. And as the head of talent solutions for Israel, I know that this also reflected in the job market, in the hiring market that we have. So let me go ahead and share this one with you. This is the only slide in the presentation that you will see that does not include Israel. the reason why we could not include Israel is because of our data privacy rules. Israel currently have less than 2 million members on LinkedIn. So we can't show this data for now, but this is very reflective. This graph is very reflective of the situation in Israel as well. So you see a sharp decline in the job market, in the hiring rate, come April, like mid-March, April, all went down. The good news is that we are seeing the stabilization. We're seeing the recovery, which is great. Like, because when you when you partner with all these companies, what we all want to achieve is to create economic opportunity for our members in Israel, create economic opportunity for the Israeli companies, right? And this recovery is very good news for us. However, the most important thing is this recovery is not the same for every function. So overall recovery can seem promising, but I'll share with you now some Israeli numbers. So for example, when we look at the functions, the hiring trends by the function, we are seeing increases in open roles when you look at R&D roles, when you look at marketing roles, and when you look at engineering roles, for example. But the same does not apply for the support roles. There is almost a 50% decline year over year for those support roles. So one thing to keep in mind is, what can we do about transferable skills? How can we win this type of a group where support business development? How can we use those skills to feed into the areas that we're looking at? So again, when we look at the fastest growing occupations in Israel in the past 12 months and the year-over-year growth, it's not surprising, right? It's like even before COVID times, this was the case. Data engineers, backend developers, quality engineers. But one thing that strikes here as very, very important is the talent acquisition specialists. The talent acquisition community in Israel is thriving because as the companies grow, as the startups, it's the startup nation, right? As the startups grow with people, the TA specialist community is growing as well. And again, needless to say, the average in-mails, the outreach, the most in-demand outreach are with big data developers, DevOps engineers, DevOps managers, site reliability engineers, front-end data engineers. So these are all skills related to the digital transformation, the digital transformation of the companies, to growth, and how Israel leads as a country when you look at those skills. It's not only Israeli companies that are looking at these people, that are looking at those skills. It is also multinationals, global companies who bring their operations to Israel. And also it is the rise of remote work, which I'm going to talk about. It is companies that are headquartered outside of Israel who are trying to get those people with the digital transformation skills. So this is when you send an email, when you send out an email to a big data developer, and when you wonder why you did not get a response, or when you were not getting the same rate of responses as you got a year before, this is why. But a very interesting fact. So there is a 60% increase in the search for a remote job on LinkedIn. So our members, when they are looking for a new opportunity, when they're looking for a new job, there's the 60% increase on their search as a remote job. But when you look at the things since March, the difference since March, there's a 2.3x, more than double increase in job applications that consider remote. But it is very important to pause here for a second and discuss what remote means, because remote is a spectrum, right? And I love giving this example when I talk about the spectrum of remote. So in one end of the spectrum, there is the likes of Netflix. So Netflix as a company with a very strong culture is very open and transparent about their policy, saying that once the pandemic is over, they want their workforce back in the offices. They are not sympathetic towards remote working. And on the other end of the spectrum, there is the likes of Twitter. Twitter as an employer is talking about, hey, even when this is over, if we never ever see you in one of our offices ever again, that's okay. So you can work remotely. But these are, in any spectrum, these are extreme ends, right? Usually we land as a company policy, somewhere in the middle. I'll give you an example about LinkedIn. LinkedIn right now is saying that until 1st of July, you can work from home comfortably. And if you don't want to come to the office until 1st of July, that is your decision and you're free. After 1st of July, for example, we introduced something as flex remote policy. So for example, up to 50% of the time, you can choose to work from home. So in a week, I can choose to start working from home on Sunday morning until Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday afternoon I can come to the office and work until Thursday afternoon. So that's where we stand, but we are very open about our policies as well. So that's, if you are going to take one takeaway from this presentation, from this insights, it will be think about your policy and be vocal about your policy. Know about what you're offering, because some countries, as you can see here, are already ahead of the game when they talk about remote job postings. You can see that in Brazil, now there's a 5x increase in those remote jobs. Spain, UK, Netherlands, Germany, France, and guess what? These are some of those countries where we are losing the Israeli talent to. So for example, for Israel, we're getting talent. So people are doing aliyah, or they're relocating from United States, Russia, UK, Argentina, and Brazil. But our Israeli workforce are also leaving Israel to go work in Germany, France, Canada, Greece, and Netherlands. So think about this. In order to keep the very valuable workforce, this is something that we need to keep in mind. And with that, I talked about the talent acquisition side of things, but I want to give it to Banu to talk about how to engage and how to fuel the digital transformation with learning.
Thank you so much, Genjo. What you're saying here is a little bit complicated slide, so don't really, look at the needs and greets. But what we are trying to show you here is that currently all companies in Israel is trying to either build a business to help other companies to go through digital transformation, or companies itself is going through digital transformation. And historically, this is quite a unique that 4 different generations currently working in the same environment. What that means is those 4 generations with different needs, different way of working, different approach to technology is working together. And when it comes to digital transformation, it has 2 legs. The first leg is if you have the money, you go buy the technology, right? You go, you negotiate, you buy the best technology you can buy. But digital transformation requires the human side, the human transition, human transformation with it, so that people evolve, companies evolve with digital transformation. And what that means is, for you, is that that four generation has to work together. But when you look at who has a better understanding, like Gen Z, millennials, on digital transformation, what that means, how do you do that, versus who has the leadership skills, can do that transformation, like baby boomers and Gen X, there is a mismatch. So you can almost think that one side of the equation knows what the actually digital transformation is, but lacking some leadership skills, project management skills to make it happen. The other side has they have those skills, but they are lacking the actual understanding of digital transformation. What that means for your company is that you need to invest in these people in different capacities so that they work together to make it happen for your company. If you move one more slide, this is very specific. I wanted to show this to you, is that you would expect when COVID happens, there's an unemployment, there are students trying to find a job. So there was a flux of reach to our network. Those people were trying to learn something new, some new skills. And we actually looked at that data to understand who is reaching out to us. And I would expect, students and job seekers, right? But when you add up to C-levels and managers, you're seeing almost 60% of the network, more than 60% of that network is coming from managers and C-levels. So yesterday they knew how to manage people. Yesterday they knew how to communicate, but today they are noticing that they don't have remote working policies. They don't know how to onboard people properly with the new reality. They don't really understand how to use emotional intelligence to communicate. And when you look at the kind of courses that they are reaching out to, you're not seeing those hard skills that you would need to learn to a job properly. We are seeing a lot of what we consider as leadership skills, soft skills, emotional intelligence skills that they are looking for. So what that means is, your people currently, whether you want to tackle the COVID head on, or you want to go through, like you were doing before, digital transformation. And let's face it, COVID only speeded up to that process of digital transformation. What you need to do is a carefully curated investment to your people to transform them with it, because they are in search for that help on our platform.
Thank you, Banu. We are very short in time, but it's very the fact that almost 60% of the people looking for your learning stuff are, you're saying that they are managers or executives, means that they feel that they need to have new skills in order to cope up with the new world, with the
Correct.
Okay.
Because they knew what productivity means. Maybe before they were looking at their watch, to see if that person is in the office. But now they have to reinvent what productivity means to that company, right? So learning is big part of transformation, and people who needs it are the current leaders, and where they need it is more like around soft skills today.
Thank you very much, Banu.